27.5. Now, whether they can creep back on idle on 1.3 litres, I'm afraid I'm not clever enough to tell you. We'd need somebody from Gibson Engine Technologies.
Well, you'd actually come back on the starter motor if you were in the actual a real car. You'd get the starter motor to turn it over, but ultimately the starter motor's going to die at some point, and that's a heck of a long way. You know, I think a starter motor would last from maybe the Porsche curves back, not from the second chicane on the Hood de Air.
And so it's possible there might be other things going on with the issue, and our friends at Motorsport Games, who are here with us in the studio in Paris at Place de la Concorde, may well have more information than we've got at the moment. They might be able to tell us that there is another issue, maybe with Fernando's rig, but that little shot we had of Fernando in his rig looked like he is still working. He certainly has not got up and walked away from it. So, you know, they'll be desperate to keep the car going. Meanwhile, looking at Charles Leclerc, and again, another great view that the computer images give us that we would never get in the real world, from behind and just abaft of the car in its wake. Behind you can see the purple Team Project One Porsche chasing Leclerc. That's Dylan Pereira. This is a battle then for 15th in the GTE class.
Seeing that view, I've actually had a GoPro camera stuck on the side of the car to see tyre deflection at Road Atlanta in the USA. And after seeing it once, I didn't want to get back in the car. What a tyre has to go through is just absolutely unreal. The deflection and the twist and everything else that happens from it. And you get this beautiful view of it exactly like that.
Listen, we're getting messages in already from all over the globe saying how much people are loving this virtual Le Mans 24 hours. First of all, thank you for getting in touch. Thank you for being with us for the start of this huge boundary-breaking experiment and 24-hour Le Mans race. And also, again, great kudos to Gérard Neveu, the boss of WEC and Le Mans Endurance Management, for putting this all together, for dragging in this unbelievably talented grid from two different worlds and getting this whole thing to run. I'm sure a lot of people thought he was absolutely mad and it was never going to happen, but it is absolutely keeping us on the edge of our seats. Lots more racing still to come. We've barely got started. Stopped on the side of our track is Fernando Alonso in his LMP2 car. And there was also a problem briefly for Brendan Hartley. He's had connection problems, we believe, from New Zealand, where he is racing in the dead of night. It'll soon be dawn there rather than late afternoon. The number 8 Toyota Gazoo racing car. You saw a little shot there of one of our prototype drivers in his rig, and that was Larry Tenforder. He's currently racing in 6th position. You can see the orange nose, the TDS car, chasing down Antonio Felix da Costa for 5th in the Jota Team Redline machine.
He's been catching just very gradually over the time. He's a little bit harder on the power coming out of the Mulsanne and Arnage corners, and so I'd say that one big difference here, and it's maybe something that is going to play out over the length of this stint, is just with that energy going into that rear tyre and the thermal degradation that will come from the tyre. Maybe benefits him at the moment in pure performance, but later on, Da Costa is nice and smooth and it may come back to him.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful with degradation. You know, particularly in the GT car, the car is going to be extremely loose coming through the Porsche curves. And it's, the drivers are telling me it's just about trying to control that as much as you can. The degradation is going to be higher in the LMP class. And again, it's going to be very, very difficult to adjust to that and to stop the degradation, to lower that throughout the stint.
Jackson Evans, we ride on board in the 92 Porsche as he chases Nicky Team, and the LMP2 cars coming flying by. Nicky Team, top right, his hair has not calmed down any during lockdown, but he has become a dad, so he put out a challenge on social media to come up with a new name for his daughter. I'm not sure that's a great idea. Below him, Jackson Evans, and he's the man chasing the Aston Martin in the Porsche. Brand new fastest lap for Loic Hertog on the last lap, 3:49.8. He's our GTE leader. Ollie Rowland, last lap, a new fastest race lap for him in the 2Cs Motorsport car. Then Stoffel van Dorn went quicker, 3:26.57. Now, Jerzy Simoncic, who set pole for Bajkoles, the car that was dropped out of the lead because it jumped the start. He's back up to 13th place. He's just set the fastest race lap, 3:26.45. So he took over from Tom Dillman after the first hour, and he is working his way back towards contention in the LMP2 class. Kelvin van der Linde leads from Stoffel van Dorn, who has nearly halved the deficit down to 5.0 seconds. And Atze Kirchhoff, the sim racer, who's the top sim racer at the moment for Team Redline, in third in the number 20 car. He is just 5 seconds behind, so they are closing down. In fact, there's been a change. Van der Linde has dropped down to third, and it's Stoffel van Dorn who leads from Atze Kirchhoff. So the cameras didn't pick that up. We'll try and find that in replay as we look at the battle in GT, and Kelvin van der Linde is sinking like a stone. He's now out to the top half dozen. So where is van der Linde gone? He's gone off somewhere. He's completed Sector 1 and Sector 2 of the tracks. It'll be on the return leg through Maison Blanche to Porsche Curve, somewhere like that. He may well be a pit caller shortly. Looking at Loic Hertog, he is our GTE leader for Dempsey Proton, a 3:49.8. And actually, one of the factors we found out after qualifying, we were talking about how green the track probably still would be. The drivers were surprised at how grippy and rubbered up it was. Conditions are perfect here. We're seeing the lap times tumble in both categories. Chris McCarthy watching Larry Tenforder here in the TDS E-Racing Motul car, 5th place overall. It's bright sunshine, it's not too hot on the track is beautifully rubbered in. It looks like absolutely paradise for these drivers in terms of grip levels.
It is, and you know, Larry's has been very quick in esports. He actually won the Porsche Mobile 1 Super Cup Virtual Edition, so he's coming into this in good form as well, Larry Tenforder. And that increases your confidence hugely. Alan will know that if you're coming into a 24-hour Le Mans race, coming off the back of a championship win, then you're going to be pushing that little bit harder. You're going to be taking those little bit more risks, and you're going to be going in going, I don't want anything less than a victory, and that is what Larry is doing at the moment. And he's driving very well, up in 5th place at the moment. There's a long race ahead, and the gap only 19 seconds to Stoffel van Dorn out in the lead. And I've got to say, Stoffel is doing very well, because Atze Kirchhoff hasn't been able to reduce that gap from 4-5 seconds. Atze Kirchhoff, incredibly experienced driver. We've got to remember, though, Stoffel van Dorn is just coming off the back of winning a championship himself, so he is proving he is just as quick of these guys. But Atze Kirchhoff may just be waiting for later in his stint to start pushing and reducing that gap. As we can see, he's starting to reduce the deficit now. It's come down to 4.2 seconds, which is the lowest it's been. So it will be interesting to follow that Team Redline car, look at the gaps and see if he can catch Stoffel van Dorn.
Well, actually, in the stint so far, they're actually getting quicker, because Van Dorn's average over the first stint was a 28.0, over the second stint a 27.8, and over the third stint, which is now 8 laps old, so nearly at the end of it, a 27.4. However, as you said, Kirchhoff, his is a 27.0 for the final stint at the moment, so therefore he is catching. But the thing is, if Van Dorn doesn't make any mistakes, then it's going to be just difficult for him to catch, and it's about trying to delay the maybe inevitable as much and as long as you can. And inevitable, though, unfortunately, is for Kelvin van der Linde, who's effectively led from the beginning of the race after the Collis car, and he's still stopped in the second part of the circuit. So it's after the first chicane and somewhere down towards Indianapolis.
Yeah, so keep an eye open. Let's see if we can spot where the WRT car is, because it should be visible on screen, as we saw with Fernando Alonso's car. Seb Priaulx for Multimatic Sancho, he is back in the race, and that's good news, because that one rig in the Channel Island of Guernsey, he and Dad Andy Priaulx are both using. You could see his mum Jo was there in the room. She's probably on the phone to the internet company going, why haven't we got any internet? But if they lose that rig, then that's both the pro drivers in the same rig from that Multimatic Sancho car out of it. And so suddenly, there's only 2 drivers left, and that means basically they're doing 11.5 hours each because we're only an hour in and we potentially lost both Prios. And then, of course, that you have to go and argue about minimum driver time to say that, but we're on one rig and we can't join the game. And you can see here, Motorsport Games could see that they weren't connected. Riding on board then with Atse Kirchhoff. This is the car that is in second place for Team Redline, and boy, I tell you, the onboard is just as frightening for them in the virtual world as it is when we're watching the real world cars. And here is the car that's up to third now from 16th on the grid in an hour. Jose Maria Lopez.
Yeah, he's very quick, Pachito. I actually did an event a couple years ago. It was on the build-up to the World Endurance Race 6 Hour of Fuji, and they brought all the Toyota drivers, put them in rigs, and said, right, race each other. And Pachito, he went in saying, I'm going to easily win this. I've got the most esports experience. But he was actually the most aggressive with his approach and ended up taking himself out the race and a couple others with him. But it was fantastic to see Fernando actually won it in the end, just ahead of Mike Conway. But it was a fantastic event as they were all just trying to take each other out. But Pachito, with his aggressive style, just caught a spin.
Larry Tenforder into the pit lane. This will be a regular stop. So this is his third stop. Raffaele Marcello's made 3. Simuncic in the Bicoles car. That car's made 3, and so has the number 18 Veloce car with Sasha Fenestraz at the wheel. So Fenestraz going on to a quad stint. It's already had 3 stops. They haven't had a penalty. One of the stops for Bicoles was a drive-through. So that was for jumping the start. So that's the only penalty that we have had so far. Kelvin van der Linde plummeted down the order because he had a disconnect. So yeah, that's news that we've just received. So Team WRT, like the Multimatic Sancho car of Sebastian and Andy Prio and their teammates, they had a disconnect. Look at this battle though. Aston Martin's 95 just ahead of the 92 Porsche of Jackson Evans. And all of these cars, a variety of red, white and black in the 4 different liveries that the Porsche Esports team are running. And this is a new venture for Porsche Motorsport. And I have to say, from the flurry of press releases that I'm receiving, they are pushing it exactly as hard as they would do with all the information that they would produce as if we were at the Circuit de la Sarthe this weekend. The only difference is we can't stop in and have a coffee with them. But other than that, it is full on, right from the top down, factory motorsport program. And that's the same with Aston Martin. Aston Martin, most of their drivers are based in Gaydon, in the Aston Martin factory there, the works factory. And, they've got all their drivers involved, all the pros involved, all the full team involved as well. So they're going at it as a full factory Le Mans 24-hour effort.
If you want to see what a factory sim looks like, just head on to their social media. Ben Concenturis actually sent us a photo. Their rig is awesome, which is being run as here we can see.
Yeah, Nicky Team in it. Yeah. It's got roll cage and everything around him.
Yeah, there you can see it.
And in fact, it looks like it's a motion rig as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So you're getting the full movement. Now, we actually talked about, the guys in some of the rigs, it might be hard to concentrate as much as they usually would because the track isn't ahead of them. Instead, they're in their office, something like that, and looking out the window, that's to their left. But that is a proper rig, and there's no way you're going to lose focus in that. So definitely Aston are taking this very seriously. And Martin, we also talked about, you were talking about the amount of professional drivers we have across both professional and sim drivers as well. This is the best grid I think there has ever been, and this is that chat you have with all your mates. If we put all of those drivers in exactly the same car, who would win? That's the case in the LMP2 class because they're all in the Oreca 07, and as for the GTE class, there is a balance of performance as well, so the performance is roughly going to be the same. So who would you pick? That's the thing. Which name would come to the top of your list? Whichever team wins, there's going to be people out there who are going to have massive bragging rights and are going to get rounds bought for them for the rest of their lives. And then for the teams who unfortunately have a little bit of less luck, who don't go so well, then they'll have to be thinking of excuses.
But again, that is exactly all about Le Mans. To win Le Mans, you've got to have exactly the right drivers, you've got to have exactly the right car, the right tyres, the right pit work, the right strategy, and the right luck.
Yes.
You turn up and you do your best, and off goes the Bicoles car. That was a huge off for the number 4 car. And again, you sense that was unlikely to be driver error because it's now back on again. So that certainly was a very dramatic moment. but looks as though not Atekerkov, the Baikole's car is Simoncic is continuing without damage. Meanwhile, a flurry of pit stops. Stoffel van Dorn is in from the lead. Atekerkov has lost a place or two. Antonio Felix da Costa, Jensen Button are both in the pit lane. We didn't note actually that the Toyota Argentina, no, that wasn't them. Who was that? That was 37 who came in as well. That's Jota Redline. They've got Dominic Farber in the car, so that's one of their sim drivers. As out goes, is it still Stoffel van Dorn? Oh, in fact, Atekerkov is shown as stopped in the number 20 Team Redline car. So Stoffel van Dorn stays in Veloce Esports, so that is their third stint, so he's quad stinting. Now, no driver can race more than 5 hours in any 7-hour period. Maximum for any driver is a total of 7 hours. Minimum for any driver is a total of 4 hours. So it's a real pro-am. So you don't just have somebody in, oh, he's nominally one of ours, but we're not actually going to give him more than 20 minutes behind a safety car or something. You've got to do a decent amount of donkey work. 4 hours for an LMP2 car is the long end of 6 stints, isn't it? So, 3 doubles or a couple of triple stints. So you're going to do a decent amount of legwork. And 7 hours, it means that nobody's going to drive 24 hours or 23 hours and just let everybody else do, 20 minutes here or there.
You've got to give every driver the chance to go and win the race, or perhaps more importantly, lose the race as well. So 4 hours, where do you give your weakest link those 4 hours? Do you do it in 2 stints early and get it out the way? Do you wait for the night time, which is going to be perhaps more difficult, where visibility is going to be an issue and track temp as well? Or do you wait to the end of the race, which would probably be unlikely? So it's a hard choice. You could do it in 4 short stints, or you could do it in 2 and get it out the way very quickly.
The bellowing sound of the V8 motor of the Corvette, nicely amplified through our headsets. I hope you're getting the full effect back home. By the way, are any of you camping out in the garden in whatever weather you've got? Are you existing on the 3 Bs? Beer, barbecue for every meal, and baguettes? Are you going the full Le Mans experience? Have you got your classic car parked in the drive and maybe Zooming or WhatsApping with your friends that you would otherwise be on the campgrounds at Circuit de la Sarthe? I want to know who's doing that. Danny Juncadella for Roman Grosjean's RHG Esports team, chasing Le Mans winner Nick Tandy in the Porsche Esports 93 car. And he's in the slipstream, he's pulling out, he's going to try and put the pressure on Tandy. Tandy staying on the inside line down to the chicane, but the Corvette just motors by, flames on the overrun out of the exhaust. I love just those little touches. There's Nick Tandy in the inset, driving from his home in Bedfordshire. And you saw Nicky Thiem, although he's Danish, he and his wife live in Austria. So he was driving in Austria, and Nicky Thiem in Austria. Here you can see Nick Tandy back home in the UK. And there is the pass, and the Corvette just got a great run down the straight out of Tertre Rouge, and Chris made that look really straightforward.
I think this is a case of Danny Juncadella coming towards the end of his stint. 26 laps have been completed, so 14 lap stints we're looking at. Danny Juncadella actually did 15, so I think he's made his move now.
Well, let's catch up with Alan McNish, with one of the most recognisable faces in sports cars.
Well, here with Hans Stuck, 2-time Le Mans winner, but something maybe you didn't know. When I first got into sports car racing, this guy was the man. And he was the man at Porsche and that was able to deliver the lap time every single day of the week, but extremely relaxed. Hans, fantastic to see you and looking so well.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for the compliment. And I think I'm watching the race here for the last hour already. And I tell you, it's really exciting. It's cool. There's good racing going on. And to be honest, I would wish is to sit in the simulator and compete in it. What do you think about it?
Well, I think the fact you've got your helmet there at the side suggests that the passion still burns, and knowing you'd be in the simulator tomorrow, or in fact in an hour if you had the chance.
Absolutely ready to go, I mean, nevertheless, I mean, it can replace a real 24-hour, but that we have this race and I see it, I know how to work a simulator. It's high concentration required. It is fun. It's good sport. I mean, and we don't have to travel, don't have to book hotel rooms and everything, don't have any traffic jam. So why not? I think it's just great, you know.
I have to say, I think the drivers have got a few traffic jams on the circuit by look at the racing. But if you just watch it, you could quite easily forget that you're not actually watching the real race at Le Mans, you're watching a virtual race. The way that the competition level is, the way the overtakings are, is that something you feel as well?
Absolutely. And I mean, when I switched on shortly before the start an hour ago, I was positively shocked how real it is, you know. I mean, you see the cars when they drift and they go over the line. I mean, it's a bit different when somebody crashes like Mr. Alonso did, then he goes back on track. But it is really real. I'm totally positively shocked, really, absolutely.
You know, you have a massive history at Le Mans. You've got a massive passion towards Le Mans. Is this something that you could ever have imagined, that you were going to be sitting here in the middle of June instead of going to the circuit, but to be maybe spectating in this way?
No, Alan, definitely not. I mean, the last couple of months really, I think, have changed all our lives, especially in motorsport, you know. And on the other side, we have to be lucky if we're still here, we're healthy, you know, and not in any, you know, any hospital or in bad shape, lucky enough. But I'm really wondering how everything will go on in motorsport. And I hope that the FIA and other sanctioning bodies are taking the chance to get things in order, to talk about regulations, to talk about different classes, how it will be. But because I think the main target is to go racing again, whatever it means. It has to be just fantastically organized. And I'm happy that we see the first Formula 2 races here later on in Austria, where I'm living in Spielberg. And I can just, every night I go to bed, I pray, let's go racing again.
So you'll be opening up the window very soon and hearing the noise of engines singing the way through the Austrian mountains. But last question, are you going to be coming to Le Mans to hear the noises in reality when the race actually happens in the middle of September?
Absolutely, you bet I'll be there. I hope to see you then again, my friend, and all the other guys, you know, because you can't replace reality. This is for sure, you know. I mean, we all enjoy this. We're having a good time sitting at home. We have a cup of coffee next to me, but nothing can really replace our real beloved motor racing.
One final thing, nothing can ever replace Hans-Joachim Stuck either. You are one in the world that could be like you, with the energy, with the passion and the love for the sport. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you in September at the real Le Mans 24 Hours.
Absolutely, and have fun there. Just send you some lovely greetings from Austria. Hola-iti, hola-iti, hola-iti. Have fun.
Thank you.
Utterly unique 46-year-old Hans-Joachim Stuck. Stritzel has had more than half a century racing career. You know, when Alan was racing, he was the man at Porsche, and he is still, and also teller of some of the filthiest jokes it will ever be your privilege to hear. So, Stritzel, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Alan for that. And if you have a Le Mans race and there's no Hans-Joachim Stuck, is it actually a Le Mans race? Wheel-to-wheel action there, replay into Indianapolis, and then one of the cars running off track. That looked like...
I think that was the red line car,
yeah,
wasn't it?
was that the 20 car or the 30 car was involved? So 20, it looked like the red line. It can't have been the WRT car. That has had its problems. Fernando Alonso's car now 20 laps down, but it is shown as being in the pits. Other cars that are in the pits at the moment: Johnny Adam for Aston Martin, Dylan Pereira for Team Project One, Francesco Castellacci for Strong Together, and Lawrence Hull, the other Project One car, is in. One question I wanted to ask, Chris: the first test race was a really successful one for one of our GT Aston Martin teams, Marla Racing Team, the 67 car. Now they are down in 13th in the GTE class. Is that a car realistically that we expect to be a little further up in the race, or did the conditions just particularly suit them when it was wet?
Dark horse. They're going to be a fan favourite with Jimmy Broadbent on his birthday racing in that, with Rob Boykins, of course, a lot of support behind him. So I'd say we'll talk a little bit more about them, but they are definitely a dark horse.
Right now you can see Larry Tenforder trying to work his way back up into the top half dozen. Stoffel van Dorn is still our race leader here at Le Mans. It is 4:50 Central European Summertime. We have almost completed 2 hours of the 24 Hours Le Mans Virtual. Martin Haven, Chris McCarthy and Alan McNish watching the action with you. Don't forget, if you would like to make a donation to the Princess Charlene of Monaco Foundation, all the funds raised in the Strong Together appeal, you can see the website address down at the bottom, are going into the International Fund for the fight against COVID-19 to try and raise money to find, test and prove a vaccine and then spread it around the world.
24 hours where you can donate through the Princess Charlene of Monaco Foundation.
Thank you, Your Serene Highness, and the FIA World Endurance Championship have just added to that fund with a donation of €5,000. And we heard earlier on in the hour from Prince Abdulaziz Al Faisal from Saudi Arabia. He's a multiple Le Mans racer here and has been very successful in GTE racing, and he has donated €10,000 to the fund. You can donate whether you've got 10,000, 10 or even €1 to add to the fund. You can donate that online. You can see the address down at the bottom, and that will remain open throughout the entirety of the race and beyond. And every fundraising opportunity to try and raise money to fight against COVID-19, and particularly to find an antivirus inoculation, will be very welcome and received. Stoffel van Dorn, our race leader for Velocia Esports 2, from Utse Kirchhoff up to second place in the number 20 Team Redline car. There is your race leader, and the next car in the picture behind, 3.5 seconds back, has just set yet another fastest race lap. We're now down to 3 minutes 26.123. Where's my grid sheet? What was the...
Well, while you're looking for that...
I'm less than 2 hours in, I've lost the grid. What was pole? 3:23.38. And so the race pace is less than 3 seconds a lap slower. Unbelievable. Well, let's join our pit reporter, Hayley. She is with the teammate of Stoffel van Dorn. It's Norman Nato.
So I'm live with Norman Nato from Veloci Esports 2 team. Stoffel is currently doing a fantastic job leading this 24 Hours of Le Mans Virtual. So firstly, Norman, where are you going to be? Were you watching and going to be, of course, playing from?
Well, I'm with Stoffel in Monaco. Monaco is doing an incredible job yesterday in qualifying already. Qualified the car in P6 in the middle of the game, so already was quite great. Still felt like it's more efficient. I have not much experience in gaming, so that's why Stoffel is a good help for me, and so far he's doing an incredible job.
Great, well, thank you very much, and good luck, Norman.
Thank you.
Norman Nato not only racing in this race, but of course our leading car in our safety car, which is the hydrogen-powered Project H24. He's also the test driver responsible for developing that car with a hydrogen fuel cell power unit and a 2-speed transmission. It almost sounds like the gas turbine BRM or one of the Halbets, or one of those weird and wonderful cars that sports car racing always throws up. And there is our race leader, Stoffel van Dorn, hard at work in the office. Race leader Stoffel van Dorn in his sim rig. You just saw Norman Nato walking around in the background after chatting to us online a moment or two ago. Martin Haven, Alan Manish and Chris McCarthy, our esports expert. Chris, it's been a great start to the race, and for this car, particularly the Veloci Esports car, they sort of worked their way up into the lead, ran away out front, but now they're being hunted down, so the balance of power is sort of shifting and swirling around. Utse Kirchhoff, one of the top pro sim racers, is now producing quick lap after quick lap, and he's bringing the margin down to our race leader Stoffel van Dorn all the time. And this is a pattern we're going to see repeated, and so is this as well as in the real world, contact between battling cars.
I think that was the 98, wasn't it, that had a bit of a spin there, unfortunately, so they're going to be in for the pits. I do have to point out, though, Adzé Kirchhoff has only stopped twice, don't forget, after he had that off. And we were getting information in that he had a bit of an off at through sector 3, we think. He lost about 7 seconds in total through that sector alone. So we have Lewis currently trying to find out the full story of what happened there. But yes, Kirchhoff, he's not going to be, theoretically he isn't in second at the moment because he is due a pit stop on everyone else. So all the cars around have stopped 3 times. Gassner has stopped the Rebellion car that Gassner is in. He's a late entry into this as well. They've stopped twice, but yeah, we'll see Kirchhoff in the pits very shortly, I'm sure. But I think he's just at the moment trying to get the most out of that car as he can whilst he's on live fuel.
Yeah, riding on board with one of the 2 Jota entries, Mighty 38. This is Antonio Felix da Costa in the Team Jota Red Line car. Of course, Antonio racing with them in the World Endurance Championship. He's also a former GTE race driver as well, raced in the BMW M8s in the Super Season. Races also in the WTCR Touring Car Series globally. And another man who knows as much about Le Mans as it is to know is with Alan McNish right now.
I'm here with Henri Pescarolo, not only 4-time Le Mans winner, but also someone that took his own team to Le Mans as well and fought out, won the European Le Mans Championship. But Henri, you're one of the legends of Le Mans. And tell me a little bit about your history at the event.
That event, I'm really surprised because when Gérard Neveu asked me to come, I didn't want because I thought it was stupid, you know. And looking at the organization, it's absolutely fabulous. I don't think it's something very good for the drivers, the real drivers, for the race, for the cars and for the team, but for the public, which don't know exactly what is racing. Perhaps it's a good way to ask them to come, perhaps in September, to see a real race, you know. The organization is fabulous. I don't think it's very positive for the drivers because they are a lot slower than the gamer, which is quite surprising. It's not so good for the race because nothing could happen, you know, when you look at that. But perhaps that could allow a new public to be interested in racing. Why not?
Well, motorsport and certainly Le Mans has always been about trying to be connected with the fans, and so it does open up that opportunity. But you said about the drivers, I think when they have a chance of winning one of these trophies, then their minds will change and then they will try and test and develop. Like a driver at the moment, every time they go to a new category, they have got to learn the strategies. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, you know, you are a lot younger than me. You know, in my time, there was no way to have a training without a car, you know. So now the young drivers are always on a simulator, you know. And something happened in the past, you know, to ask a gamer to become a real driver. It was not really possible, you know, it's so different. But for the young drivers, they look very good on that game, you know, because it's what they are doing actually in their team, you know. They are learning to set the cars on the simulator, you know, and so it's something which is usual for them, not for me.
Now get to the real racing. We're coming towards Le Mans in September, and that is obviously the reason that we're here today, is because this would when the normal 24 hours event would be. You have got such a long history there as a team owner, as a racing driver, and now as a fan? Or is it still a little bit of passion going around that circuit when you watch the race?
You know, a lot of people ask me what will happen in September, because everybody knew what happened with me in September. You know, I drive the whole night on the heavy rain without windscreen wiper. I said that will never happen anymore, because if that happens, there will be a safety car and there will be no more race, you know. And something, I think that is very bad, you know, because if you look at what we're doing, Fangio, Schumacher, Senna, Prost on the wet, you know, that was fantastic, you know. No, you cannot race anymore on the wet. So what will happen in September? I don't know, but if there is the same weather than before, there will be no race, you know. It's a pity, but I hope there will be a real race because everybody is waiting the race, you know, looking at that game. Everybody is waiting now a real race, you know.
You drove the whole night without a wiper in the rain at Le Mans with the top speed of?
The top speed was not so high, you know. It was there was no chicane, so it was 350 kilometers, you know.
Not so high. Not so high.
Because yes, with the Porsches we were 380, 85, you know, and but that was not the most difficult because when I spoke with other drivers, even with the windscreen wiper, it was very difficult. It was nearly impossible, you know, and. What happened, I don't know. It's a miracle, you know. It was just impossible. And I did it. I don't know why. God was with me, you know.
Well, congratulations on your 4 Le Mans victories and also what you did as a team, as a Le Mans legend, Henri Pescarolo.
Alan McNish with Henri Pescarolo, and Pesca entered the race 33 times as a driver, and that still is a record. And in fact, it wasn't an uninterrupted run, 33 times in 34 years. 1 year he couldn't enter the race because he was still recovering from the burns that he still carries the scars of that happened in a Formula 1 crash. And that race he's talking about, he was in the Matra racing against the GT40s, and he brought the car back in after a night where at some stages it was down to walking pace. The rain was so torrential. Back up into second place, and in fact they ended up finishing a very close second to the GT40. And similar story 50 years ago when the Porsche of Richard Atwood and Hans Hermann won at Le Mans, the first outright win for Porsche. They were the 5th of 5 factory 917s entered. Richard Atwood was asked by the factory what car would he like. He went for the 3.7 litre, not the 3.9 litre engine, because it was better tried and tested and a bit less stressed. He went for a Kurzheck, the short tail car, because he didn't feel comfortable in the long tail. And that was not something that you should have got the best of out of Le Mans. And they asked, who would you like as the co-driver? And he wanted Hans Hermann. Now, Hermann had finished second the year before with Jackie Ickx, but that wasn't part of it. Hermann was the oldest and most experienced driver in the team, and that's why Atwood chose him. And they were the first of just 7 cars that finished that race 50 years ago. 1970 Le Mans 24 hours out of 51 starters. That's how wretched the weather was. And again, as Henri Pescarolo said, just a few years ago we started the race behind the safety car because the weather was so bad for racing, and had 2 hours of safety car running. Now, what the weather throws at us, nobody knows in the real world or in the sim world. Of course, one rule that we know from the film Le Mans from Steve McQueen is that it always races at Le Mans, and most years it always rains at Le Mans. Most years it does. Some years it really rains. Some years you just get a sprinkle. Who knows what the game has got in store, but we don't need the weather to...
So 1 more after this or 2 more?
2 more after this one.
Okay.
So you can join already, I think, right? In the server.
Yep, we are on it already.
Okay. Did they fix the problem?
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know really. We just need to stay focused, okay? And if it's not working with Alex, you stay in the car for 1 more stint, and we will advise.
Okay, my headphone is starting to get empty. But I think it will make it.
Okay, copy.
So additional people are saying driving change is not possible currently. So let's try and see what happens.
What is he doing? Yeah, the guy in front of me. The Costa,
Okay.
he's already pitting, so they're not safe fueling. I had 7.
Yeah, okay.
7.14, 15.11. 15.11.
Okay, copy. Should be okay. Should be okay.
Da Costa had a drive-through penalty.
Track limits?
I don't know.
Okay. Good. So do I really clean the ice? That's the key. But you have more experience than me.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah. If my headphone dies, I will change it. But I can do it during driving.
Yeah, exactly. We need to stay in touch if there is a problem with the driver change.
Yeah.
Really important.
Morris. Morris, kom eens. Alsjeblieft. In de zijkant van die Logitech, daar zit de accu in voor mijn headset. En heb je hem eruit? Die zit aan de zijkant van het doosje. Ja, doe maar. Oké, als mijn headset doodgaat. Hè? Ja, ja. Thanks. Thanks, maat. Oh, make a mistake. Check.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there.
I make one driving mistake.
Okay, big one or okay?
Yeah, I just lost 6/10.
Okay, copy. So you should cross the line at 7.7.
Okay, I checked.
Normally.
Why is it tires? 7.70.
Okay, should be okay. So box this lap, box for driver change.
Alex is now riding with you. You can select him in the pit menu.
Radio. Pit stop requested.
You can hear me, Alex? All okay?
TA racing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, everything is set up.
You can turn off the engine at the pit stop if you want. It will go on automatically again for Alex.
Ignition or the engine? Ignition, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I leave it on.
Okay.
And Denis, if there is a mistake, how we can know that the drive action will not be effective or...
Boxes confirmed, driver confirmed.
Yeah, copy. Box confirm.
But the V is really gone, guys. Entering pit lane.
Okay, copy.
0.53 in it. So
Good
driver
job.
ring. 1 sec.
I think you can leave the engine on if you want. Just do it like
Yeah.
all the other pit stops.
Wow, guys, that was tense.
Was only the first then for today.
I know. I make some little drive mistake, but I will adapt it.
All good.
But not like big. Yeah. Okay,
Do you have
45.
control, Alice?
We have control. Okay. You are now Alex. Okay, good luck, mate.
Stay alert, Larry, in case you have a bug before we
Yeah.
exit.
I put the gear in neutral. Engine mapping is still on 2. Or do you get your settings? Okay. Come on. Yes. Nice. Okay, we
Yeah,
changed.
everything working, so perfect.
Okay, I do
Thanks,
escape,
Larry,
right?
for the job. Good. Yeah, you have to escape from the server,
Leave
also
track,
from
right?
Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gone. At the end of the stint, the rear was really slippery. But anything else was good. So, and I have to disconnect from... You still there?
Yeah, you can disconnect
Yes.
from the server.
Disconnect from the Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Skype.
Skype, I'm not connected with anything. Okay, guys. Good luck.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
And we will keep you in touch about the next outing.
Yes, copy. Cheers.
good for us.
Yeah, good. Okay, Alex, we are currently P4.
at the start of the next lap. Yeah, we have damage, but top speed is fine, so should be good.
Okay, we are perfect on fuel counts.
Easy, Alex.
3 laps to go. 3 laps to go. Two laps to go. 2 laps to go.
I didn't see. Just keep going. Yep.
Okay, box this lap. Box this lap.
Box.
Yeah, copy box, fuel and tires.
The lap was a 3:36.35.
Okay, Alex, for the next stint, you can use a bit more fuel if you want. And currently, one of the best average from the stint before was 27.3. 27.3.
I don't know, just keep going. None of our business. He is left, and in front of him is Petter. Let me check. Cornelis, so yeah, they disconnected. Yeah, should be no need for blue flag, just say fuel behind him. It's all good. I think he was behind us anyway.
So 4 laps.
Ready?
Yeah, it's live.
Okay. Hey everybody, my name is Larry Teforde, and yeah, I just finished my stint. I need to say my 4th stint, what I did. I'm here at a really nice location. I'm at the Nürburgring because yeah, next to my sim racing, I have also to do some coachings tomorrow. So yeah, we have good, nice screen here and a nice background. I need to say I'm really happy with the stint. We started from P12. I could have make some places good at the start, and yeah, I give it my all there. Try to be consistent, don't make too many mistakes, because yeah, now it's still like 21 hours to go. So yeah, it will be a really long way for sure. But yeah, things are looking good. We at the moment we P5, so yeah, we're making good steps there. The car's really quick. Team is really doing a good job, and also the engineers. And now Alex is in the car. He's doing a really good job, and yeah, really nice to see it. So yeah. What I will do now is chillax a bit, having some dinner, some stretching, because after 2.5 hours I was really wet. Was really warm in this room because yeah, we have to be driving really on the limit and don't make too many mistakes. So Yeah, it's looking really good. And I think next guy in the car will be Dennis, and then it's going to be to Guido. And then I will do my stint that night again. So yeah, it's going to be a short night. But really looking forward to it, and crossing the fingers for my teammates now, and yeah, see where we can end this thing. But for now, it's looking really in a good direction. Cheers, guys. Have fun. Don't forget to subscribe, and I see you all soon. Bye-bye.